offense, and they really had to rely on the rush game, and it came from one player that we haven't really focused too much about in the rushing department, and that was the quarterback, Troy Prattley.
Prattley's such an interesting athlete to watch on the field. Yes, he can get it done through the air when he needs to, but where his real strength comes in is his legs, his ability to find holes in the pocket, find holes in the offensive line, shoot through them and take off. He's got good speed, he's got good agility, and the ability to sidestep defenders. So Prattley's dual threat as a quarterback is really valuable to the Cougars offensively.
And the other thing about the offense was there wasn't really any receiving, but if we're going to talk about one player in particular for the Cougars that is going to be the most important target downfield, it's actually going to be the running back, Adarian Sykes. Not only does he lead the team in rushing yards, but he's the leading receiver as well. And for a player like Adarian, who didn't really get his opportunity until that Concordia, Wisconsin game, and in that game he put up over 100 yards of offense, he's done that twice so far this season. It's going to be important for the Cougars to utilize his dual threat ability to get that offense rolling today.
Sykes is really similar to Prattley in the fact that he's a dual threat athlete. He's not just a good running back. He's not just a good receiver. He can do it on the ground. He can do it through the air. So Sykes' ability to take care of that through both aspects of the offense is, again, very valuable to the Cougars' attack. And it's just hard to contain a player like that. You don't know if he's going to come around the corner and rush on you for a 20-yard gain or if he's going to shoot downfield to catch a 20-yard pass. So Sykes, Prattley, those two guys are key to this offense getting going today against Benedictine.
Well, the Cougars lost 30-7 against Wisconsin Lutheran College last Saturday. They get a nice rebreath of fresh air as they come home for Senior Day, and it's an important day for Senior Day, honoring the seniors and all those that have played 4 years at Concordia, Chicago. It's a special moment for the program, as in any football program, but it's not the best weather conditions today. We've had gusts of 25, 30 miles an hour of wind here at Concordia Stadium. We've also seen it drizzle throughout the day so far, and it's going to be almost in favor for the Cougars, who rush the ball almost 40 times a game, to have a condition like this for game time where there really is going to make it difficult from Mother Nature's point of view to throw the ball.
Benedictine, they're a good passing attack. Two of their wide receivers have 9 touchdowns on the year. They love going out through the air, so this really does benefit a team like the Cougars, like you said, who are a very rush-heavy team. They don't take it through the air a lot. They do when they need to, but their main point of attack is rushing, whether it's Prattley or Sykes, or we see someone like Blake Henson get a carry here and there as well. So, yeah, like you said, Carter, this gust of wind, it's going to make it hard to throw that ball really far downfield like Benedictine likes to do. So, if anything, Mother Nature's going to favor the Cougars today.
Well, we're going to step aside for a quick break. When we come back on the Cougar pregame show, we'll have a scouting report on the Eagles, our game tips, and then we'll get ready for your 1 p.m. kickoff here from Concordia Stadium on the Cougar Sports Network.
Hello, I'm Dr. Russell Dawn, president of Concordia University Chicago. Thank you for tuning in to today's Cougar Athletics broadcast. We take great pride in the strength of both our athletic and academic programs, which are rooted in our steadfast commitment to Jesus Christ. Dedicated to the liberal arts as a foundation of a high-quality college degree, we believe education should form individuals for service to their neighbors. This makes Concordia Chicago an exciting and fulfilling place to study, work, learn, and grow. Learn more today by visiting cuchicago.edu. Thank you, and go Cougars!
Welcome back to the Cougar pregame show. Carter Gledhill, Peter Borkowski with you on the Cougar Sports Network as we are minutes away from the opening kickoff here in River Forest for the Benedictine Eagles and Concordia University Chicago football game here at Concordia Stadium. Peter, we're going to get to that point now where we start to see the Cougars in the last couple games of the year. They're going to start playing a little bit more of their backup players, as well as many teams do when you get in depth. But we've seen that also from Coach Andy Lambert, not just because of the depth he has in terms of youth, but this is a team that has a lot of young faces that work well with their seniors, and we've seen a couple of those young stars make impact so far this season. And one in particular, last week against WLC, we saw that you liked from the defensive side.
Well, B.J. Pitts had a fantastic week last weekend against WLC. He's a freshman on the team, so one of those young players you're talking about. And man, Pitts is great, but he's just one of those several freshmen who are really stepping up on the defense this year for the Cougars. You got C.J. Tucker, who's making a nice impact on the secondary. Brandon Arredondo is making a good impact on the front seven. So this is, again, a very young team, but they're already good players. So it just bodes really well for the next couple of years of the Coach Lambert era, that these young players who are already good, they're just going to get better. And in a couple of years, this defense is going to go from being good to being great.
And the one thing about this defense that has been the backbone and something that they can live and die by has been that linebacker core. And we've already seen two of these young linebackers for the Cougars in Trayvon Thomas and Brandon Arredondo, the top two leading tacklers on the team, have definitely made it difficult for teams to get anything going offensively, and that's why the Cougars are so good in the rush department. But even so, they're the third best pass defense in the NAC.
Well, Thomas is one of those linebackers you love to have in your team. Yeah, he can go make those tackles that you need to, but he's also got a couple interceptions on the year as well. Had one against WLC last weekend. So Thomas and Arredondo, there's kind of those linebackers that a lot of times you don't really notice what they're doing, but they're just in the middle of the field, sitting, waiting, doing their thing, stopping the rush if they get past the first line of defense for the Cougars. And then, like I said, they're going to snag a couple interceptions, force a couple fumbles, get those special statistics that defensive players love to get.
Well, as we wrap up the pregame show here, it's time to give our keys to the game. Peter, I'll toss it to you first. This has been a struggle for the Cougars against the Eagles. In the last 10 games, they are 1-9, and it's been a while since the Cougars have took a win against the Benedictine football team. What do you think is going to be that one key today for the Cougars if they want to pull out the Senior Day victory in their final home game of the season?
Well, we've talked about defense a lot this show, Carter. I'm going to throw it to the offense now. This game is really dependent on them. Their defense has been there all year. It's been their bread and butter. This is a very good defensive unit. The offense kind of, fluctuates. Sometimes they're on top of the ball. That game against Rockford was a really good example of a good offensive product, and sometimes they struggle a little. So that offense needs to be on top of things today. Troy Prattley, Adarian Sykes, got to get guys like Devin Bledsoe as well as Christian Covington involved in the passing game as well. That offense can click. I don't have any doubts this defense can at least keep them in the game enough. They'll be in striking distance.
I was going to say, also kind of going along that, one thing we saw in the Rockford game, in that homecoming game, where there was a little bit of a hesitation from the Cougars to get back in front and keep their momentum rolling, was self-inflicted wounds. This is a team that's the number one penalized team in the conference. And the other thing is, too, it's going to be interesting to see how the Cougars respond to if the Eagles get a big scoring play or they put a long drive together, and especially kind of what you talked about with the offense. Can the offense come out, keep the defense on the sideline for a bit, let them catch their breath, and put a long drive of their own together? I think the big deciding factor here in this game, if we look at the offenses between the two teams, is going to be third down. We know the Cougars, they either get the third down and they keep rolling, they put long drives together. But most of the time, though, we've seen that after a big drive from the opponent, it's been a 3-and-out for the Cougars, and they're going to have to make sure that they can limit those opportunities because we've seen them have 31 minutes of possession in games, and that's a big stat for a team that is struggling offensively, trying to turn the page here in the final home opener. Well, as we get ready for the 1 p.m. kickoff here at Concordia Stadium, we're going to take one more break, and then we'll bring you football on the Cougar Sports Network against the visiting Benedictine University Eagles and the Concordia University Chicago Cougars. Good afternoon and welcome to Concordia Stadium for today's conference matchup between the visiting Benedictine University Eagles and the Concordia University Chicago Cougars. Carter Gledhill, Peter Borkowski with you on the Cougar Sports Network in the final home game of the 2022 season for CUC. And they come back home after a loss on the road against the Warriors of Wisconsin Lutheran College last week in Milwaukee by a score of 30-7. Cougars a little short-handed on some parts of the field, and they're still looking for a way for that offense to get jump-started and put up some big numbers. We thought about the forecast in the pregame show, Peter, being a factor of, and it's not as rainy as it was during the pregame show, but the wind is definitely something you have to keep in mind for both coaches today, especially special teams department.
Well, rushing game's going to be big. It's been big for the Cougars all year. Darian Sykes having a very nice freshman season, especially considering he took over just a couple weeks back at the CUW game. So he leads the team in rushing and receiving yards, and that's without even playing for the majority of the season. Then you got Troy Prattley at quarterback. He's got a great set of legs under him, able to run through any holes that his offensive line opens up. He keeps defenses on their toes with his arm and his legs. And then you mentioned special teams, Card. This special teams unit for the Cougars has been something special this year. Blocked punts seemingly every single week, or a blocked field goal, usually cause a turnover here and there, get the Cougars the ball in excellent field positioning. So this is shaping up, at least weather-wise, to be good conditions for a Cougars win.
Gusts of 30 to 40 miles an hour, but a steady breeze, or should I say wind of 25 miles an hour. It's one of those things for the Cougars that could play some advantage to home field because Benedictine loves to throw the ball downfield. They have some couple wide receivers that love those big plays, and it's going to start with the Cougars. They're going to be on defense. The Eagles will receive the opening kickoff. Eagles 6-2 on the season, coming off of a loss against the Spartans of Aurora University by a score of 20-13. Those are two of the highest scoring offenses in the NAC conference. Both teams average over 40 points a game. And this is an Eagles team that has had the Cougars' number so far in recent years, an overall record of 5-38 off time, 1-9 in the last 10 games. The Cougars are against the Eagles.
Well, like you said, Eagles coming off a very close loss to Aurora. Aurora is always cream of the crop in the NAC, so the fact that Benedictine was able to hang in with them, only lose by a touchdown, shows just how good this team can be. Cougars got their work cut out for them today, but if there's a day they're going to do it, senior day's the one to do it.
And already we're seeing the wind play an effect on the opening kickoff as the ball falls off the tee for Ryan Auer.
Now, for one last time this season, are you ready for some football?
Cougar fans excited for the home finale. Trent Taylor to hold the ball for Auer, and away we go on senior day in River Forest. A short kick, and it's going to be picked up by number 31, Vin De Rosa. Tries to cut it back over the middle and gets tackled around the 16-yard line. Benedictine Eagles offense will be led by Evan Walajewski. And this is a team, Peter, that we talked about. They have a couple playmakers, but they also put up a lot of points in their games.
Well, right now, Benedictine, they're averaging 41.38 points a game, second in the conference. Only to Aurora, you alluded to it, Carter, but Aurora and Benedictine, the only two teams in the conference to average over 40 points a game. This is an insanely high-powered offense. Cougars defense could come out, make a stop on the first drive. That's going to really set the tone.
And they start off with a run, and we already see a fumble. It fell on the ground. In to recover that was the tackle, Michael Shine. And for the Cougars, is a team that relies heavily on pressure. If you look at their front three, Martin Egbo, Julian Ramirez, and Jelani Warner, those three big bodies really lead the charge in terms of pressure for the quarterback. And last week, Julian Ramirez didn't record a tackle. Part of the reason why WLC was able to sit back in the pocket, have time to throw, as it's 2nd and 8. Pass inside, given to DeAndre Holiday. Holiday has room, and he'll be tackled around the 38-yard line.
I'm not going to be too surprised if that's the game plan from Benedictine today. Like you said, wind We've had some pretty hard gusts. Things have settled down a little bit, but still not ideal conditions for long passes downfield. So we might see some short checkdowns to Benedictine's wide receiver weapons in Nick Shelton and DeAndre Holiday, and then let them get some yards after the catch like Holiday just did.
Leading receiver for the Eagles, 576 receiving yards and 9 touchdowns, puts him at second best in the conference. A handoff over to Greg Horde, brought down for a couple of yards.
We talked about Shelton, we talked about a Holiday, but Horde is someone you got to watch out for as well. 4th in the NAC in rushing yards per game, just under 100 yards a game, just shy of it. So Horde, an excellent weapon out of the backfield. This Benedictine offense has so many weapons that the Cougars defense has to pay attention to.
Ball on the ground. Wadajewski lost it in his hands. Again, that's just a slippery surface out there on the turf. Ball not being dried after every down. Cougars trying to force the turnovers. So far this season, they've forced 21. 13 fumbles by the Cougars defense. They now have the Eagles in 3rd and 12 on the 36-yard line. Wadajewski back over the middle, just behind the receiver, and almost picked off by the Cougars. Number 26, B.J. Pitts.
Good pressure there by the Cougars into the backfield, making Wadajewski kind of force that throw. Is a little high off the receiver's fingertips, almost into some Cougar paws, but they catch a break there with the drop deflection. They'll get another chance at it, but that's what's going to take to throw off someone like Wadajewski off his game, is getting the backfield, applying that pressure, and make him make throws that he doesn't want to.
Sean Lyons back to punt for the Eagles. Christian Covington to receive, and it's shanked off the side of his foot, and it bounces backwards. Lyons picks it up himself at the 19-yard line. So a botched punt, and then heavy gusts of wind blew that all the way back into deep CUC territory. So the Eagles are able to pick up a first down on the 19-yard pass to DeAndre Holiday. The drive stalls after that, and then a punt from Sean Lyons that didn't gain anything and goes back 12 yards, sets up the Cougars at their 24-yard line of Benedictine.
Just some sloppy play, especially on the snaps. I think we're seeing the weather really take effect.
Cougars start with the handoff to Covington, cuts it back up by the numbers and gets tackled at the 16-yard line. Christian Covington, a senior receiver from Corinth, Texas, 2 rushes for 13 yards last week. They haven't really been able to get him the ball in the receiving department, but as Coach Lambert says, everybody in this offense will be able to carry the ball. They got some speed, and this Cougars team loves that jet motion.
They've got some weapons. Kirsten Covington, Devin Bledsoe, Darian Sykes can do a lot of shifty things. They just got to get the ball in their hand somehow.
They hand it off to Sykes. Picks up the first down. Sykes is the leading rusher and receiver for CUC, coming into today's game with 355 yards on the ground. He's hauled in 22 passes for 220 yards. Made his debut for the Cougars against Concordia, Wisconsin, where he had 109 rushing yards. It was the first 100-plus rushing yard game by a Cougar on the season. He's also the only Cougar besides Devin Bledsoe with 100 or more all-purpose yards in a game. Pratley pulls it himself, will head right up the line of scrimmage. Gets tackled around the 9-yard line. Gain of 2 on the play.
What I want to see out of this Cougars offense is more action towards the outside. We see them running it up the gut a lot. We saw Pratley do it just there. That's not going to work against a really good defense from Benedictine. You got to get to the outside, and you got to use their speed. This Cougars team's built off speed, not size. So you get to the outside, like guys like Sykes really turn on the jets and turn the corner, rush upfield.
They hand it off to Sykes again, but he's tackled by number 8, Braxton White, the senior from Sugar Land, Texas. Cougars with third down inside the 10-yard line for the Eagles. This would be a big statement for the Cougars if they're able to capitalize on the punt mistake from Sean Lyons and punch it in for a score. Pratley options it outside. Sykes to the pylon. Touchdown, Cougars. Great read by Troy Pratley. Cougars rush it in. They go up 6-0 over the Eagles early in the first quarter.
Well, that's exactly what I was talking about. Get that ball to the outside to your speedsters and let them use that open space to make something happen. We just saw that right there. Sykes is so shifty. He's got a great acceleration. He's able to get past that defender just with the little pass from Pratley. So good play calling there. Getting the ball to Sykes, give him some open space. He finds the end zone.
Extra point is kicked off the backside of an Eagle. The Cougars pick it up and run it into the end zone. Waiting for the official ruling from the officials. It didn't look like it was a kick from our. It looks like the holder for CUC tried to pass it away, but it is now ruled a failed point after attempt. Let's go look back at the touchdown play. It was an option play from the start. Pitched it out to Adarian Sykes. 7-yard rushing touchdown for the freshman, his second of the season. Cougars up 6-0 over the Eagles with 10:28 to play in the first quarter. Cougars get ready to kick it away to the Eagles after the 7-yard rushing touchdown from Adarian Sykes. Failed point after attempt. Now we have a conversation on the field from the officials. Coach Andy Lambert's out on the field talking to one of the Benedictine players. Now we'll have a chat with two officials. Wind still howling at Concordia Stadium as the Cougars have their home finale today against the Eagles. They'll be on the road next week against the Green Knights of St. Norbert College. For the Eagles, one of the higher scoring offenses in the conference, able to pick up a first down. A 19-yard game by DeAndre Holiday. Then 3 plays later, they have to kick it away to the Cougars. CUC able to capitalize on the opportunity. Bringing it out for the Eagles is Vin DeRosa. DeRosa near his own sideline gets wrapped up at the ankles and pulled down. So better field position for the Eagles to start their second drive. Peter, what did you see in that first drive from CUC defensively that led to a couple nice plays by CUC and shutting down the Eagles?
Well, they were getting to the backfield, which has always been key for this Cougars defense. When guys like Egbo, Ramirez especially, and then you have Jelani Warner as well. They get into the backfield. Maybe they don't get the sack, they don't get the tackle for loss, but they just put pressure on the quarterback. That forces him to make some pretty haphazard throws.
Quarterback keeper for the Eagles. They brought in the wide receiver, Dylan Siegel. Coming back onto the field now will be Evan Wadajewski. It'll be 2nd and 6 on the 41 for Benedictine. Cougars show blitz, play action, and right through the hands of Charles Kirtley.
Flag down.
But a flag is down on the field, as Peter mentioned.
The intended receiver on the ground before the pass even got there. Assuming we'll get some kind of interference. Or not.
Official for today, Jack Shanahan, delivering the first penalty of the game. Illegal man downfield on Benedictine. One of those read option plays, Peter, where look at the defense, and it was a smart read by Wydajewski, seeing that CUC brought the blitz from the linebackers. But again, his receiver just fell down, almost led to an interception for the Cougars. Second and long for the Eagles. They hand it off. And getting tackled around the 37-yard line is Greg Horde.
A big third down coming up. Cougars defense, they've been tough on third downs all year, only allowing opponents to convert on 30% of them. That's best in the conference. They get a stop here. That is an extremely good start to the game here for the Cougars. 2 defensive stops, and then we saw the touchdown just a couple minutes ago. So that's how you got to start these games against teams like Benedictine.
Wydajewski back, looking right, has a man towards the sideline, and almost a diving catch for DeAndre Holiday, but great coverage on the outside. Number 26, BJ Pitts, came over to help.
Brendan Bow in the vicinity as well. Sophomore out of Tamarack, Florida. Had a great freshman season last year. Still having a nice season this year. 28 total tackles, 2 interceptions on the year. And so between him and between Pitts, they're able to lock that coverage down and force the incompletion.
Now another punt into the wind for Lions. Covington standing at the 35-yard line, a lot shorter. Lions gets it away. It was almost blocked by the Cougars. Takes a couple Eagles bounces before it's rolled and stopped around the the 36-yard line. So CUC now getting the ball on their own side of the field for the second drive. What we saw in that first drive, though, Peter, it was the rush for CUC. They used the jet sweep, they used the option, the quarterback keeper, and they also just handed it off to Adarian Sykes up the middle. Very versatile style of running for CUC and going deep into the playbook.
Well, I think they got to keep going deep in that playbook. You don't want to pull out the same tricks on the second drive. Or defense like Benedictine, they're going to pick up on that. This is a smart defense. They're not going to let that fly for long.
Keeper to Pratley, had nowhere to go and gets tackled for a loss. Brian Pritt, the sophomore D lineman from Chicago, Illinois, on the tackle. It'll be a loss of 2.
Pritt, one of the stars on this defense for the Eagles, first in the conference in sacks with 10, also first in tackles for loss with 14. Pritt's one of those guys that the Cougars offensive line, they have to key in on. They cannot let him get into the backfield and blow up whatever kind of backfield action the Cougars are trying to run.
Play clock at 10. Cougars get set. 3 receivers to the left. Sykes in the backfield. They hand it off to him. Tried to hit a hole in the line of scrimmage, but the Eagles front line shuts it down. A gain of 2 on the play, so it'll put CUC at 3rd and long.
Well, now the Cougars kind of have to go to the passing play. They, 3rd and long. It's doubtful just the way the rushing defense has been going for the Eagles as of this drive that they can get, 10 yards, 10 plus yards at this point out of the rush game. So they kind of have to go through the air, but they haven't done it yet today. So interesting to see what they pull out of the playbook here.
CUC on the season for third downs, 28%. 5 seconds on the play clock. Pratley still looking around. Covington in motion. They get the snap away, but not after a flag is thrown. Pratley sent Covington in motion, and had to wait for him to get past the center, and now a delay of game will move the Cougars 5 yards back.
This is the kind of thing the Cougars got to avoid.
Penalty will put the ball back at the 31. It will be 3rd and 15 for the Cougars.
So obviously you never want to take a delay of game penalty, but against a team like Benedictine, you cannot afford to make mistakes like that, which are really just a matter of communication, getting the play in, getting set up quick enough. You got to be in the top of your game in that department to take down a team who's as talented as this Eagles roster.
Prattley rolling left, already met with pressure, dances around, finds a man, it's Bledsoe wide open. Avoids one tackle, picks up the first down, and is pushed from behind across midfield.
Excellent play there by Troy Prattley. He had the one-on-one against Pritt. We're just talking about how good Pritt is. Prattley pulls out the dance moves, gets around him, and finds a wide-open Devin Bledsoe. Bledsoe's one of those guys I really want the Cougars to get going. He's got some speed, he's got some size, some height. You find him downfield, or even something like that. You find him open, and then he's able to get a lot of yards after the catch just due to his natural athleticism and how hard it is to bring him down just because of his size.
19-yard pickup for Bledsoe, the sophomore receiver. Covington in motion. On the jet sweep, has the handoff. A nice chunk of yardage for Christian Covington on his second carry of the day. Gain of about 14. Cougars move the chains again.
Covington's very similar to Bledsoe in all those regards I was just talking about. He's big, he's got some size that it's hard for defenders to bring him down, and then he's also got some nice speed to his game, as we've been seeing here with all these jet sweeps they're pulling off with number 11 in gold. Covington, be really nice to see him get going.
Cougars already with 57 yards of offense. They move Covington again to the other side. They hand it off to, again, identical play, and Christian Covington is just picking up big chunks of yardage, gets near the first down marker, and sets the Cougars up nicely for second down. And this is the first time we've seen really all season that the Cougars have been able to go back-to-back with that jet sweep and get big chunks of yardage. And I think it's partially because Covington, and just his big frame, is able to get things going in that vertical direction down the sideline. It's very hard to bring him down, as you mentioned.
Oh, yeah, he gets a little bit of momentum behind him. You're not slowing him down, or at least not easily.
Prattley bobbles the snap, looking for some help. Throws it downfield, has a receiver, it's brought in. No official word on the field yet, but they're calling it a completion.
Wow.
Pass was hauled in by number 18, Blake Henson, with a flag down but in the backfield. So adding on to the big reception from Blake Henson, a personal foul on Brian Pritt. And now the Cougars move even closer to the goal line. But what a great play from Prattley. We've seen him make two incredible throws so far, one on third down early on this drive to Devin Bledsoe, but there to Henson too to avoid the pressure. Now sets up first and goal on the 5.
They're rolling Prattley out, giving him some time and space to make something happen in the passing game.
Cougars hand it off, and dashing inside for the score is Nate Speed, the second. Touchdown, Cougars. Back-to-back drives for CUC end in a touchdown. Speed picks up his first touchdown of the season. Cougars go up 12-0.
This offense is doing everything right. Benedictine's doing little to slow them down, other than the Cougars just rush it up the gut. Every other play besides that has been paying off for them. So this offense is so tuned in right now. They came to play here on Senior Day, and I think they've kind of punched the Eagles in the mouth a little. Benedictine kind of looks a little flustered, like they don't know what's going on.
Point after attempt good for CUC. We'll take a look back at the replay for the rush for Nate Speed, the second. Again, it was that jet motion. And for some reason right now, the Cougars have been able to find success with that, turning and burning up into the secondary, and scoring again for CUC is another jet sweep coming from Nate Speed. 4-yard touchdown for the sophomore from Douglasville, Georgia. CUC up 13-0 over the Eagles. We'll have the kickoff and more football on the other side of a quick break on the Cougar Sports Network.
Right.
6:12 remaining in the first quarter. CUC already up 13-0 over the Eagles. Short kick for Auer. Bounces over the head of De Rosa. Makes a couple cuts and gets brought down around the 20-yard line. And you mentioned that it looked like Benedictine was a little slow on defense as there's some extracurriculars on the field after the kickoff. CUC obviously fired up 13-0 over Benedictine. But right now it seems like CUC has found some sort of secret formula and has cracked the code against the Benedictine defense, and their offense for the Eagles really hasn't done anything right now either with only 24 yards.
Shout out to the entire CUC coaching staff. They absolutely nailed this game plan out of the gates right now. Benedictine's got nothing going on either side of the ball. The Cougars look fired up, they look fast, they look speedy, and Benedictine just is not responding.
Another keeper taken by Dylan Seigel. Only a couple yards on the play. The second time they've gone to Seigel in the rush. He's only played in 2 games prior to today, but has amassed 111 yards in those 2 contests. It'll be 2nd and 8 for Benedictine. Ball at the 24-yard line on the right hash. Handoff goes to Horde, and bringing him down near the line of scrimmage is Brandon Arredondo, the freshman from Dalton, Georgia, having a spectacular freshman year, Peter. We talked about him in the pregame show and what he's been able to do.
Arredondo's been a fantastic addition to this defense, leads the team in assisted tackles with 31. So Arredondo, one of those several young underclassmen players we mentioned pregame show who have stepped up and immediately had an impact for the Cougars.
Wadajewski rolls left. Pass is short. It was intended for his favorite target, number 0, DeAndre Holiday. And now it's decision time here for Benedictine. And they'll go for the punt here, another 3 and out for the Eagles. I would have thought at least they maybe would have done something with 4th down, just seeing the fact that they're going to be punting into the wind again. This is already the 3rd punt we've seen in the first quarter for Benedictine, and that flag is blowing directly in their direction, back in their face. As another punt for Sean Lyons.
That's true, but they're so deep into their own territory. This Cougars offense is rolling. It probably won't take them long to get it.
Cougars block it! Cougars block it! Ball on the ground! They're fumbling and stumbling into the end zone. The Cougars score on special teams! What a play by the Cougars special teams unit! And scoring is the junior Martin Egbo.
Oh my goodness. I don't know what to say. This Cougars team is here to play. That is for sure.
The Cougars let the Bulls rush right out of the gates, get into the backfield, block the punt, and the Cougars score their 3rd touchdown on the day, courtesy of the special teams unit. Conversation on the field between the officials.
Officials having a conversation. Here comes the kicking unit.
How about Martin Egbo, the junior from Williamsburg, Virginia, getting the block punt. Cougars punch it in. So you can't really hear much from the official on the field, and Jack Shanahan, because of the win, but a sideline warning issued to CUC following the special teams touchdown for the Cougars.
You know, after everything that's gone on so far this game, I think the Cougars are okay taking a sideline warning. If it means being up by 19, possibly 20 over Benedictine, we still got 4.5 minutes left to go here in quarter one, Carter, too.
Another point after attempt for our kick is good. The blocked punt, courtesy of Brandon Montford, recovered by Martin Egbo. Returned for another touchdown for CUC. They now go up 20-0 over the Eagles. We'll step aside for a quick break before we resume action here in River Forest on the Cougar Sports Network. So the sideline warning went against Benedictine as the Cougars will now kick it off from the 50-yard line. Kick from our goes out the back of the end zone, so a touchback for CUC. Eagles still trying to process what's been happening. Again, two costly special teams plays have led to 2 touchdowns for CUC. And right now, looking in the box score, CUC 93 yards of offense, the Eagles with 26. If you were looking at the box scores from the season coming into today, you might have not expected this result early in the first quarter with still 4:38 to play.
You said Benedictine's still processing what's happening. I think I'm still processing what is happening right now. I can't even talk straight.
First play of the drive for the Eagles is a pass out from Evan Wadajewski, hauled in by the receiver Dylan Seigel.
Now's the time this defense needs to dig deep and really get a stop here. You're up by 20, but this is still a really lethal Benedictine offense. You figure they're going to, figure things out eventually. So this defense, they need to step up. They need to bear down, and they need to get another stop here. Just keep piling on Benedictine. Don't give them any signs of life, especially any of their big playmakers.
Wadajewski 2 for 5 for 23 yards through the air. They hand it off to Seigel. Puts him close to the first down marker. It'll be 3rd and short for the Eagles. And also, too, this is a big drive because the Cougars could force another punt. If the Eagles pick it up here, Cougars still have some time to work with left in the first quarter before the teams flip sides of the field. And I think we're going to be looking at this right now, that the south end zone, driving to the south end zone, is not where you want to be. And the Cougars have the benefit of that so far right now, and we've seen it. A keeper up the middle by Seigel, picks up 2 yards and moves the chain for Benedictine, only their second first down of the game.
Boy, they're really liking this, direct snap to Seigel. I think you mentioned his stats earlier, Carter. 2 games played, 116 yards in those games, so some decent numbers for number 11 in white. They're just trying to get something started here because their traditional offense is not cutting it right now.
Seigel again in the backfield. Gets tackled for a loss. He was first hit by Martin Egbo. He's able to bounce off the lineman, pick up a couple yards, but still a loss on the play for Benedictine. Trayvon Thomas in the area, as well as Number 41 for CUC, Marquise Overstreet.
That's what they need to keep doing. Get to the backfield. Don't give Benedictine any time to set up a play and, try and find their top receivers downfield.
Pass for the Eagles. Going deep down the sideline, and it goes into the Eagles bench. It was intended for Benedictine. And number 8, Braxton White. So now it'll be 3rd and long for the Eagles. 2:24 remaining in the first quarter, where CUC has dominated so far. 20 points for CUC, their best start of the season. Wojciechowski goes towards the sideline again, is able to connect with his receiver and pick up the first down. Pass was brought in by number 1, Nick Shelton, the 6'4 junior who comes off limping towards the sideline.
Shelton makes up a half of that dual-headed receiving threat that the Eagles have with him and Holiday. For Shelton, 472 receiving yards on the season, 9 touchdowns, as well as Holiday ranks towards the top of the conference in that category.
Another direct snap to Seigel. Goes up the middle and gets pushed towards the first down marker. BJ Pitts was in the area last week against WLC. Pitts led the team with 9 tackles. Puts his total now at 40 on the season. 9-yard rush for Seigel.
Talked about Pitts a little pregame. Leads the Cougars in solo tackles with 31. Add him to the long list of underclassmen making their name known defensively for CUC.
Seigel again. Big hole on the left side of the line of scrimmage. Good work by the left side lineman Gannon Greider and Michael Shine. And now a player is down on the field for CUC. Injury timeout here in River Forest. CUC up 20-0 with 1:14 remaining in the first quarter. Martin Egg. Welcome you back to the broadcast after some tactical difficulties. A couple power outages actually up here in the press box, but we are happy to welcome you back to the broadcast as the Eagles are now 1st and goal inside the CUC at the 7. It's been a good drive so far for the Eagles. A nice bounce-back drive as Seigel rounds the corner and heads into the end zone for the first score of the day for the Eagles. 7-yard rushing touchdown for Dylan Seigel.
Great drive by Benedictine to kind of get back in this one. They didn't really go for any major plays downfield, just chipped away slowly on the Cougars, worked their way downfield. And then there was the quarter change. They had a little bit of a breather there. So a nice long drive from Benedictine keeps the hot Cougars offense off the field. Now they're going to pull 6 points closer, maybe 7 here, depending on the extra point.
Tanner Matias to kick for the Eagles. Point after attempt. Low snap. And goes through the uprights. Benedictine now trails 20-7. It was a drive that started all the way at their own 25-yard line after a touchback. 15 plays, 75 yards, took 6 minutes and 53 seconds off the game clock.
We know how explosive this Benedictine offense can be, but getting a drive like that in is going to be very, very helpful. Just a steady tempo, moving downfield, taking their time with it, chipping away at the Cougars' defense. Now the defense is going to be, kind of thinking, are they going to go for the short plays? And that's going to allow you to go downfield now if you're the Eagles. So overall, a successful drive from Benedictine, more so than just getting the 7 points on the board.
Seigel picking up his second rushing touchdown of the season. It'll be interesting to see how CUC fares heading towards the south end zone, as there were trouble for the Eagles in that first quarter going down the field in the direction CUC will be now in the second. But just as Peter, you mentioned earlier, it was a good first quarter for CUC, still 3 quarters of football left. And this is the Benedictine team who has the second best offense in the conference. CUC will bring it out. Sykes avoids the tackle, goes up the sideline, pushed out around the 13-yard line.
And I will get a real test here for the Cougars offense. Probably their worst starting position of the game. They had some really good special teams play that set their offense up nicely previously. So now they got a long way to go to get to the other end zone. They can, work their way downfield. That's going to be really, really good signs of things to come for the Cougars.
They'll be pushed back even further into their own territory after a block in the back called. They'll move the ball all the way to the 9-yard line for CUC. 12:40 remaining in the second quarter. Troy Pradley, 2 for 2 so far through the air for 42 yards. Christian Covington, the leading rusher for CUC, with 3 carries for 31. They'll hand it off to Sykes, who goes up the middle. And he's tackled by number 0, Tyler Walker.
Well, I haven't given this Benedictine offense that much attention so far today just because the Cougars offense has been so good. But this is a really nice defense coming into the game, only allowing 342 yards of offense from their opponents throughout the season. That's 3rd best mark in the conference, 3rd best rushing defense, 4th best passing defense. This is a talented squad defensively for Benedictine. See if they can actually start stepping up now and start curbing the Cougars offense.
Sykes gets the handoff, goes down the sideline, uses a stiff arm, and then is drilled out of bounds around the 31 by Walker. New quarterback in for CUC as well, the freshman Jacob Redmond, who made his season debut last week from Bishop, California, into the backfield for the Cougars. No sign of Troy Pradley right now on the sideline.
Well, in that debut last week for Redmond, it was his passing debut. He's appeared in 2 other games, but last week, first time he actually got some throws out. 2 for 2 for 16 yards. Small sample size for the freshman.
The handoff to Henson. Cuts it up and is hit by number 6, Cy Taylor. And Blake Henson, someone that Coach Lambert has talked about in the Coaches Weekly, on someone who has stepped up like a Darian Sykes. Scored his first touchdown against Lakeland a couple games ago. Picked up 42 yards rushing against Wisconsin Lutheran College last week, which was a season high and a team high for the Cougars. He's also scored a touchdown in 3 of the last 4 games, so they've been finding ways to get him the ball.
He's kind of that utility gadget player you love having on the roster. You can do a little bit of it all, Tariq Cohen type kind of guy. So Henson has a lot of versatility, brings a lot of different options to this offense, and he's been given a couple shots this season just because of some movement throughout the Cougars running back room, and Henson's making the most of it, getting his name out there. And again, he's one of those guys who should only get better as the years go on.
Tackle made by Braxton White. No gain on the play. It'll be 3rd and 7 for the Cougars on the 34-yard line. 10 minutes to play in the second quarter. CUC still looking to the sideline. 6 seconds on the play clock.
Have to call timeout.
And it looks like the Cougars will burn their first timeout of the game. And get ready for 3rd and long. When we come back, Cougars up 20-7 over Benedictine here in River Forest. You're watching the Cougar Sports Network. Third and 7 for the Cougars. Quarterback Jacob Redmond in for CUC. Will throw for the first time and try to get it to Covington, but it was just out of reach of the 6'2" wide receiver. So CUC sending the punt unit onto the field. First time today we've seen the Cougars have to punt the ball. Good sign, too, for CUC. Martin Egbo on the sideline, running up and down, trying to stretch out what appears to be a lower leg injury.
It's doubtful we see Egbo on this ensuing Benedictine drive, but hopefully he can come back later in the game. Egbo is one of the playmakers on this defense, tied for the lead in tackles for loss with 9.5. Also leads the team in QB hits with 6. So Egbo, a big part of this defense. Hopefully he just needs a drive or 2 off, and then he can get back doing what he does best for the Cougars.
Ryan Ayers down to the punt for the Cougars. Also in the area, Parker Kelly, the long snapper. Eagles will set up shop at the 29-yard line. 37-yard punt by Ryan Auer. Big drive here for the Eagles. Could ride a little bit more momentum and take some of that away from CUC. A rush outside for Gregory Horde. Nice pickup on first down. 7th carry for Horde. Hasn't been able to get much going offensively, and this is the guy we talked about, Peter. Close to 100 rushing yards per game on the season, but a majority of the carries has been dealt to the wide receiver today, Dylan Seigel.
Benedictine really likes that direct snap to Seigel, let him rush up the gut, because this passing game's going nowhere right now, so they're just finding new creative ways to rush the ball.
CUC all over that Seigel run. Julian Ramirez, who didn't record a tackle last week, able to stuff Seigel at the line of scrimmage and send him back for a loss of 1.
So this is going to be a great response from the Cougars defense if they can finish things off here. First time we've really seen the offense struggle on today's game with that previous drive. So if your defense can come out, force a 3 and out, get you the ball right back, give you another shot. That's going to be a great response after a
Third
offensive
and
drive.
6. Pass over the middle intended for Holiday. Goes through his hands. It'll be 4th and 6 for the Eagles. And it looks like the punt unit will come onto the field for Benedictine. A great 3-and-out and performance for CUC on that drive.
Again, exactly what they needed. The offensive drive, you don't go anywhere now. You get the ball right back after a 3-and-out. Maybe the special teams can pull another trick out of their bag.
CUC has already blocked 1 punt today. They have 10 Cougars on the line of scrimmage. They go charging into the backfield and almost get it. The punt from Lions gets a couple friendly bounces and will roll to around the 25-yard line. And now is downed by Benedictine. Number 45, Keyshawn Holder, waiting for the last possible second to down the ball. So it was a hot start for CUC. Able to get 2 touchdowns, and then the special teams help as well. Only drive so far of the second quarter was a punt on 5 plays, picked up 25 yards. Redmond gets stood up at the line of scrimmage and drilled back. Braxton White near the line of scrimmage again, as well as Tyler Walker. Both teams now over 100 total yards of offense. It'll be 2nd and 11 on the 24-yard line. Covington in motion. Redmond, a handoff to Sykes. Another loss of a yard on the play for CUC.
CUC's kind of gone away from what was making them really successful, which were all that motion in the backfield, those jet sweeps, getting the ball to the outside, pitching it to the wings. Now they're just kind of rushing it up the gut a lot, and that's not going to work against a defense like Benedictine, who's got some big bodies up front. They got to bring back that creative play calling. You got a new guy under center, but get back to what was working, or else you're going to give Benedictine plenty of chances to catch up in this game.
And again, no sign of Troy Prattley on the sideline. Henson in motion. Fake the handoff to him. Redmond tried to get the corner, but is brought down by Tyler Walker. A spectacular play by the senior linebacker. Read it perfectly. Did not allow for the fake from the quarterback to fool him.
Like you said, Walker all over that play. He was on Redmond the second Redmond decided to take off running. Now this Benedictine defense, they're really whipped into shape after kind of getting punched in the mouth coming out of the gates by the Cougars offense. Now they're really stopping whatever CUC decides to throw at them.
CUC taking a couple more seconds off the clock. Low snap, punt, line drive, got some top spin, and now a little sideways spin to the 35-yard line. Again, tough conditions, and it's a big win for the Eagles because they forced a punt deep in CUC territory, and now we'll have it at the 35-yard line on CUC's side of the field for a drive.
This is basically a must-score drive for the Eagles, not really because of, the score or how much time's left, but because they have such good field positioning after that, botched punt or whatever happened there. Maybe someone got a piece of it. You're already in the Cougars territory. This offense has looked a lot better the previous few drives. This is one of those drives you got to get something going, especially to keep your momentum up.
A handoff to Seigel. Gets stuffed at the line of scrimmage. Jelani Warner in the area. And just looking at the quarters of total offense so far, Eagles with 74 yards in the first quarter. They have 31 here in the second quarter. Still a good amount of time left on the clock. But CUC, very different. 93 yards in the first quarter, only 19 in the second. Second and 10 for the Eagles. Wadajewski looks over the middle. Pass is complete to number 0, DeAndre Holiday, who was brought down by number 53 for CUC, Brandon Arredondo.
I think getting the passing game going is still a goal of Benedictine's right now. Wadajewski only 4 for 8 for 42 yards. So getting him going, getting their top guns in Holiday and Shelton on the move, getting some receptions. That's got to be the offensive plan right now.
Seigel dancing around, can't get to the line of scrimmage. He'll be stopped short by the CUC defense. Justin Aduo able to come from all the way on the other side of the field to make the stop. It'll be 4th and short for Benedictine. Eagles keeping their offense on the field. Dylan Seigel in the backfield, and if I had to bet on this one, Peter, they're going to do a little bit of a run with Seigel. Hasn't thrown it at all today. Cougars are packing the box.
At 2 seconds on the play clock.
And now a timeout called late by the Eagles. First timeout of the day for Benedictine. Comes with 3:33 remaining in the second quarter. CUC up 20-7. It'll be 4th and short for the Eagles when we return on the Cougars Sports Network. Fourth and short for the Eagles. Seigel in the backfield. They bring an extra lineman in the back to try to get the first down. And a great play by Seigel, cutting it back to the left side, picks up the first down for Benedictine.
Nice moves there by Seigel. He looked dead to rights when he made his first move. There was just a swarm of yellow jerseys on him. But he's able to cut back, go back through that hole up in the middle of the field and able to pick up the first down. So good rushing there from the wide receiver. Gives his team a fresh set of downs, still deep into the Cougars territory.
Wadajewski in the backfield for Benedictine. Handoff to Horde. Left side. Gets the corner, up the sideline and knocked out. Marked out around the 13-yard line.
Talked about wanting to get their wide receivers going in Shelton and Holiday, but Horde's right up there as well. Again, one of the better running backs in this conference in terms of rushing yards per game. He usually averages 6.8 yards a carry. Right now he's down at half that mark, 3.4. Well, now it shoots up to 4.4, but still trying to get number 30 going is definitely a goal of the Eagles.
Nice open field tackle by B.J. Pitts. It'll be first and goal for the Eagles. Ball at the 9-yard line. Wind starting to pick up and shift. It was blowing from the backs of Benedictine towards the north end zone. Now it's going across field. Low snap. Seigel gets tripped up at the laces, keeps his footing, and then is brought down in the backfield Brandon Arredondo in the backfield to shut down the quarterback keeper for Seigel.
Good attack there by Julian Ramirez as well. Almost had that shoelace tackle in the backfield, and Seigel able to barely get away from him, but Ramirez putting the pressure on, forcing Seigel to go one way right into the other defenders on the field.
Wadajewski, left side. Pass brought in by Sammy Ayash. Now a scrum near the 5-yard line. Benedictine was able to gain a couple inches after. It'll be marked down at the 4-yard line. 3rd and goal for Benedictine.
I haven't heard Ayesha's name yet, but he's also got over 400 receiving yards on the year along with Holiday and Shelton. So another one of these valuable weapons in the receiving course for Benedictine, who they just are trying to get going right now. This passing attack is picking up a little steam on this drive.
Now a timeout called by the Cougars. 1:02 remaining in the second quarter. Eagles have the ball on the 3-yard line. 3rd and goal when we return here in River Forest on the Cougar Sports Network. Cougar fans, be sure to check out our YouTube page, CUC Sports, for new digital content, interviews, and all broadcasts on the Cougar Sports Network. Now you can become a channel member for $5 a month to receive exclusive access to content and the ability to participate in live chats during the game. 3rd and goal for the Eagles. 4 for 9 so far on 3rd down conversions in the game. Wadajewski rolls right. Pass marked short. DeAndre Holiday caught the ball mere inches away from the goal line. It'll be 4th and goal for Benedictine, under a minute to play. You can't get any closer to the goal line there, Peter, without getting it in, but the official marks him down at the literal 2-inch line of the goal line.
This is one of those plays for the Cougars defense where you just got to hope someone can get into the backfield quick, blow it up, because you know, unless for some reason they send out the field goal unit, which I very much doubt they're doing that. All this Benedictine offense has to do is pile the bodies on whoever's got the ball and just push them through.
Play clock at 3, 2, 1. Now a timeout taken by the Eagles. 15.9 seconds remaining in the second quarter. We'll keep it here for this break. Peter, I mean, you bring up a good point. Even with the wind, it's unpredictable. Even though the wind is in favor of Benedictine right now, I mean, 25 miles an hour, it's been pretty consistent throughout the game. There's still a risk that comes with that. We've already seen a shift in this drive in terms of the wind. But you would have to think if you're on the 2-inch line, you have a play in your playbook to get those couple inches to punch it in.
Yeah, you just snap it right to the quarterback or snap it to Seigel, which is what they've been doing all day. Just have, you know, a couple guys pile up behind him and just push him through the line. Again, it's one of those plays for the defense where there's really not much you can do to stop it other than also pile up all your bodies and just push the other way and hope he doesn't break the line. But I think this is pretty much a no-brainer for Benedictine and their coaching staff that they got to go for. I mean, the chance that, you know, you're down 20-0, Cougars had all the momentum in the world, the chance to bring this one back within a touchdown. It's just too tempting to pass up. They got to go for it.
Seigel, 41 yards so far and 14 carries. Leads all rushers in the game. Both sidelines getting hype. In the backfield is Wadajewski. goes under center, quarterback keeper. Benedictine tries to get in the end zone, have to wait for the official spot. Cougars say no, Eagles say yes. Wait for the official spot, and a touchdown for the Eagles. Eagles got just enough on the quarterback keeper from Evan Wydajewski. Score their second touchdown of the game.
Not the start to the game Benedictine wanted, but this is about the best case scenario they could be in, other than, maybe tying the game before half. But you've got momentum. You're back within, 8 or 7 points, depending on the point after here. You go in the locker room, reset a little, calm down after that opening flurry. And, again, this is right where Benedictine wants to be after that initial flurry of offense from the Cougars.
Point after attempt is no good. Went wide right, so the score will remain 20-13. So only one touchdown separates the two teams. And if we look back at the last play, in terms of what we saw on the field, Peter, there was an extra effort from the linemen for Benedictine to push CUC, their defensive line, back. And it was initially just two bulls right at it. Nobody was moving, but the Eagles got the best of the Cougars on that last play.
That's what you got to do on those goal line plays like that. Don't overthink it. Just have everyone pile up and start pushing against each other. Someone's going to give, and you get that little bit of momentum from, your running backs coming up and pushing Wydajewski in the back. Again, that's basically a gimme for the offense. It takes a very strong effort from the Cougars. Let's go with that, to be able to pull that one back. But again, Benedictine, they're looking a lot better now after that opening attack from the Cougars.
11.8 seconds remaining. Drive from Benedictine took 5 minutes and 34 seconds off the clock. 10 plays, 35 yards, capped off by a 1-yard touchdown from Evan Wydajewski on the ground. Sykes gets the return, slow to start. Now turns on the afterburners before being dropped around the 26-yard line. An extra shove from Benedictine, but no flag on the play.
Game's been kind of chippy like that all day long.
CUC would have loved the penalty yardage too, an extra 15 yards. Could have put him at a better shot for a longer play.
Well, good sign for the offense. I don't know what they're going to do here. They might just decide to basically not do much here, avoid a turnover or something. But good sign either way to see Troy Prattley back out there for the Cougars. And saw him take a couple drives off, dealing with something on the sideline. Now he's back, so he should be hopefully good to go for the rest of the game, especially now he's going to head to the locker room in just a couple seconds.
Cougars take a knee. Final seconds will run off the clock here in the second quarter. It's a back and forth really between quarters, a difference of 2. CUC put up 20 in the first quarter, and Benedictine put up 13 in the second. It was a great start for CUC, but there's still a lot of work to do in the locker room. Peter and I will have that breakdown in our analysis of the first half when we return in a little bit after halftime here on Senior Day in River Forest. Cougars up 20-13 over Benedictine. As we get ready for second half football here in River Forest, Cougars up 20-13 after one half. Peter Borkowski joining me on the broadcast. As you look back at the first half, the scoring came on the team that was going towards the north end zone in both quarters. CUC, 20 points in the first, Benedictine, 13 in the second. And it's really been one side of the field that has been favorable for each team. We've seen a punt that went negative 12 yards. We've seen a field goal cut short and 2 missed extra points. So right now, Peter, it seems like, yes, there's a little bit of a factor in the weather, but also, too, it's both these teams just duking it out so far in the first 2 quarters.
We kind of saw them mirror each other in each quarter. Quarter one, Cougars offense looked really good. They're doing a lot of creative stuff. They're using a lot of speed, a lot of motion to throw off a Benedictine defense that has performed really well up until that point in the season. Then we flip to quarter two, and it kind of goes the other way. Benedictine starts chipping away at CUC, making some nice long drives downfield, not using many explosive plays, but just taking their time, continuously picking up yardage and moving downfield. Meanwhile, the Cougars offense, they struggled in that second half, really couldn't get much going. They did have a change at quarterback for a second, but good to see Troy Prattley should be back out there.
And to go off that point about the offense, the Eagles had 140 yards of offense in the first half. They had 74 in the first quarter and 66 in the second. Big reason why they had 74 in the first quarter was because that was the start of their 15-play, 75-yard touchdown drive that would lead to their first score of the game. For the Cougars, though, they had 93 yards of offense in the first quarter and only 19 in the second. So there's still a big difference there for CUC that needs to be changed, and hopefully the locker room conversation. We talked about what needed to be done so far in the game in the first half, and hopefully that is made different as the second half kickoff is put out of the back of the end zone out of bounds. And a good sign for the Cougars as well, as we saw Troy Prattley come back onto the field for the final knee in the first half after we saw Jacob Redmond take a couple drives for the Cougars. It seems like right now that the Cougars need to find a little bit more consistent identity, and we talked about it during the break, Peter. There's a lot of good plays in the first quarter, I should say, and then the second quarter they were challenged by weather, they were challenged by the Eagles more, but they were really stretching the ball more horizontal than vertical compared to what they did in the first.
Well, it's about finding that recipe for success and just hammering it home. When you find something that works against a good defense, you just got to keep using it over and over again.
Henson, Prattley makes a man miss, and he gets tackled. Cougars are trying to run the option on their first play of their opening drive in the third quarter.
Another thing from the Cougars that I saw in that first quarter that I think we should see a little bit more of in the second half is Prattley rolling out, having some time, maybe making a man in the backfield miss and using that time to find an open receiver. We saw him make a couple nice plays in that first quarter. I remember the completion to Devin Bledsoe was one of them. So maybe see a little bit more of that, get Prattley's arm involved.
Prattley with only 2 passes so far in the game. Adarian Sykes able to turn up the sideline. Gain of about 2 yards. It will be third and short for CUC. Sykes, 39 yards on the ground. And to kind of go back to your point about receiving, there's only been 2 receivers so far today that have hauled in catches for the Cougars. Blake Henson, a 23-yard catch, and then Devin Bledsoe as well with the 19-yard reception. So for something that we worried about with CUC, with the passing game, they haven't really had to go to it that much so far. Prattley, instead of throwing, will pull it down and is tackled by number 9, Brian Pritt. The sophomore defensive lineman from Chicago, Illinois, makes the play and forces third down, 3 and out for the Cougars.
That's what Benedictine wants coming out of the locker room. Had a lot of momentum going into halftime. Now they come out, get a big stop on the Cougars offense to open up the half, I should say. Now they're going to get a ball, hope their offense can keep staying hot.
Punt away for CUC, the best punt for the Cougars an hour after one that only traveled 24 yards in the first half. Is able to get it down the reasonable depth into Eagles territory. 13-11 remaining in the third quarter. And the biggest thing for the Eagles that we saw in their first half of football here in River Forest was Dylan Seigel being used as a rushing quarterback more than anything else, and that was the main focus of the offense.
15 rushing attempts from Seigel, 48 yards, a rushing touchdown. That was their first of the day, excuse me.
Handoff to Horde, gain of 1 on the play.
But going back to Seigel, he's really been their main point of attack. You have Holiday, he has 3 receptions for 29 yards, so he's, putting up some numbers, but it's really been Seigel, and it's really been that rushing attack. Horde's getting going a little bit, 9 attempts for 36 yards, so he's picking it up as the game goes on. They just are not using Wojciechowski as a throwing threat as much, only 10 attempts in that first half.
Play action for the Eagles. Pass dumped off. And a nice gain on the play for the Eagles. It was a short pass hauled in by number 8. Braxton White. First and 10 for Benedictine. Ball at the 41-yard line. Handoff to Horde up the middle. Correction on the catch, it's Justin Hocker. 22-yard reception for Hocker. Second down and 7 for the Eagles.
Go defense! Defense! Go defense!
2 receivers each side for Wojciechowski. Handoff to Horde, trying to make his way through a crowd at the line of scrimmage. Gets upended. Be third down for the Eagles.
Way to build a wall up on the line of scrimmage. Don't give Horde anywhere to go. Like I said just a little bit ago, he's getting going more as the game goes on. 11 attempts for 41 yards now. So you got to keep Horde. You can't let him get hot. Again, coming into the game, one of the league leaders, one of the conference leaders in rushing yards per game. So keeping him down, it's going to be a key for the Cougars defense.
3 seconds on the play clock. Eagles need to get a snap off. They do. Flag thrown. Some early contact, but a false start called, so the play blown dead even before a play. So it'll be 3rd and 12 for the Eagles following a false start. Wojciechowski 7 for 11 so far today for 75 yards. False start goes against Gannon Gritter. Motion right, Wojciechowski dumps it off a screen to Horde. A great read over the middle by Brandon Arredondo. It was all set up for the Eagles, except Arredondo snuck his way into the backfield behind the defensive, or the offensive lineman, I should say.
Great pressure by the Cougars D-line as well. Egbo, Ramirez, Warner, 3 yellow jerseys rushing Wojciechowski, so we had to get rid of that quick, which led to that little dump, which led to the tackle in the middle.
Wojciechowski looking for help on 4th down and gets brought down on the other side by none other than Justin Aduo. Turnover on downs as Justin Aduo Picks up a big-time sack.
Well, a duo coming into the game, the sack leader for the Cougars with 3. You can make that 4 now after that key 4th down one. But now it's up to the offense. They got a little juice now coming off that big turnover on downs. It's time to get something going here. Put some more points on the board while you got a good chance.
Cougars will lead things off with a handoff to Blake Henson. Covington on a block. Henson gets tripped up at the 39-yard line. But a big play for CUC, and that is a nice way of changing things up. That is exactly what we saw in the first play of the game for CUC. On their drive was a jet sweep to Christian Covington. Now Henson gets in on the fun, and he picks up his 3rd carry of the game.
I talked about Henson in depth last half, and I'll just kind of reiterate, but he's such a nice little utility gadget player for the Cougars. Can do a little bit of everything. He's got some speed, some elusiveness, just one of those players you'd love to have in the backfield.
Henson in motion again. Pratley pitches it out to Sykes. Gain of a couple. Tyler Walker, who we've said his name a couple times already today, has been all around the field for the Eagles. Leads the team now with 8 total tackles. Second and 5 for the Cougars on the Benedictine 41.
It's time to keep this up. Now you're moving on this drive. Don't let up. Keep coming out with the creative plays. Keep this defense on their toes.
Sykes has to bow it in the backfield. A flag flies from both the Benedictine sideline and the back judge. On the play, it was a gain of 4. That looks to be coming back. Holding call against the Cougars. Only the 3rd penalty of the game for CUC, and we talked about it was going to be an area of concern, especially for CUC with the penalties. But when you come and play a team like Benedictine, one of the better teams in the conference, they're 6-2 at your place. Everything has to be perfect. You have to clean everything up, and CUC for the most part has done that.
Stole the words right out of my mouth. Just going to talk about that. You cannot make mistakes like that against Benedictine.
Quarterback counter, Pratley sideline, room, gets the first down or gets close to it. Troy Pratley with a big-time rush. His longest of the game. And what was 2nd and 15 will now be 3rd and 1 for the Cougars. And the Eagles jump off sides. Now a flag flies. We'll wait to see who it's called on because, again, both these teams were jumping at each other. CUC, some of their players are jumping up and down. CUC goes to the hard count, gets the Eagles to jump off sides for a new set of downs. Ball now at the 27-yard line. Sykes, left side, has the room going to the pylon. Touchdown, Cougars! Adarian Sykes from 27 yards out punches it in, and the Cougars strike first in the second half.
Cougars got a good one in Sykes, the freshman. Talked about him a lot, and he just keeps giving us reasons to talk about him. Make that touchdown. Number 4 overall on the year for the freshman out of Lake Village, Arkansas. He's making things look easy. He's just such a good athlete. I think that's the best way to put it. He's so good athletically. He just can do so many things and just is such a valuable weapon to this Cougars offense.
Point after attempt good. We'll take a look back at the touchdown run for Adirian Sykes. 27-yard touchdown for Sykes, his second of the game. He now has 70 yards on the ground in 10 attempts. It's been a great showing so far for the freshman, who has really had to take on a big workload of this offense. And the Cougars will kick it back to the Eagles when we return after a quick break here on the Cougar Sports Network. Ryan Auer to kick it away for the Cougars following the 27-yard rushing touchdown from Adirian Sykes. A fair catch called for by Benedictine. Second touchdown of the game for Sykes. It came after a great stand from the CUC defense. $7:49 remaining in the third quarter.
This will be a big drive from Benedictine. Find themselves, find themselves down 14 again now. See what they can do as they're still looking to put points up in this half.
And it bodes off the momentum that we've seen so far. Again, Justin Aduo with the sack, forcing a turnover on downs on Benedictine's first drive of the third quarter. Then CUC able to get the touchdown after, so a big drive here for the Eagles if they want to stay in this game. A rush from Seigel up the gut. Picks up a handful of yards.
And you could say this about a lot of teams, but I think it really applies to the Cougars. This is a team who thrives off of momentum. It seems every time that, one of the three units for the Cougars, whether it be offense, defense, or special teams, anytime one of those teams does something really good, a blocked punt, a big sack on, fourth down like we saw earlier from a duo, the other team that comes on absolutely thrives off that momentum. Like you said, you get the sack from Odeo to get the turnover, then the offense goes down and puts a touchdown up. So this is a team who just loves to feed off of momentum.
Seigel was going to get tackled in the backfield, but then a collision between two CUC players allowed him to break free. Marquise Overstreet and Julian Ramirez knocked into each other and allowed for Seigel to pick up the first down. Ball lays at the 41-yard line on the Eagles side of the field. Wojcicki looking deep over the middle. Pass is overthrown. Pass was intended for Seigel. In coverage for CUC was Brendan Baugh.
Say, first time in a while we've seen Benedictine go downfield like that. They tried a couple times in the first half to no avail. If you want to talk about big plays, so completions over 15 yards. Right now, Benedictine, they only have 3 big plays on the day. They tried to get one there, but obviously things did not work out, so I think they're just going to go back to try and chipping away at this Cougars defense.
2nd and 10, Wojcicki looks to the sideline, has a man and breaking up. Charles Curtley, fantastic play by the freshman quarterback. Nick Shelton caught a beautiful ball from Wojcicki, and then Curtley comes in and knocks it away.
Great play by the freshman from Channelview, Texas. Like you said, that was Shelton's ball. He had that in his grip, and then Curtley got his hand in there, was able to rip down and dislodge it before it was ruled a catch. So Great job there from the freshman. Another freshman making a big impact for this team this year. I feel like I keep saying that over and over again about every player in this field, but.
Third down. Another pass for the Eagles. Shelton was able to hold on to this one, and it'll be close to the first down marker. And now it'll be given a first down for Benedictine. They needed 10, they got 10. Ball now on CUC side of the field at the 49. First catch of the day for Shelton. Horde on a run to the right side, chasing him down and bringing him down for a big loss on the play. Number 23, Brandon Montfort. Huge loss on the play. Sets up second and around 14. Eagles have started to look like they had their offense together. A big drive here, now down by 14. They need a score. Pass down the sideline, attended again for Shelton. In coverage for CUC was number 26, BJ Pitts. And in the area as well, Eric Wade.
You mentioned that Benedictine looked like they had it figured out. Now they're kind of running into issues again. Like I said, it's kind of a change in philosophy. The reasons that their offense was clicking is because they were making these short completions. They were running it a lot. They were just chipping away at the Cougars' defense, weighing them down. Now they're going for those big all-or-nothing plays. We've seen 2 long passes to Shelton, within the last couple plays now. And it's just not working out for them. I'm surprised they aren't still doing what they were doing and just slowly moving their way downfield.
Wadajewski to his left has a man, and it's hauled in by number 13, Sammy Aish. And he stays in bounds until he's knocked out around the 9-yard line. So the reason why Eagles keep going to it, CUC leaving a one-on-one coverage on the outside. And they were able to get that big play, Sammy Aish. First and goal for the Eagles on the 9-yard line. Wadajewski to his right. Looked in the corner, goes to the back of the end zone. Diving catch, and the touchdown, Nick Shelton.
Oh, great catch there by Shelton. Showing why he's one of the best receivers in this conference with that one.
Shelton picks up the touchdown. 9-yard reception. Extra point for the Eagles. Point after attempt is good. 1-score ball game here in River Forest. Eagles trail now 27-20 with 5:09 remaining in the third quarter. CUC gets the ball back and hopes to continue the role they had after Adarian Sykes scored on their last drive here in River Forest. They're so Liam McCarthy to kick it away for the Eagles. Ball goes over the head of Henson and Sykes for a touchback. So both these teams, Peter, on their last drives were able to punch it into the end zone for scores. Eagles did it by the passing attack. Cougars elected to keep the ball on the ground and really just chip away at field possession until they were able to get Adarian Sykes to break free. But both teams are starting to get a little bit more aggressive now that the wind has died down and they have a feel for what each team is doing.
You know, both offenses kind of settling into a groove now. Cougars aren't as, high-powered as they were at the beginning of the game, but they're still, putting points up, got a touchdown on their last drive. And then, Benedictine, they really started to click into things into the second quarter, and they just continued that with their previous touchdown. So, like I said, both offenses kind of settling into a groove as the game's gone on.
Hand off to Sykes on first down. Pickup of 2 on the play. We've said it already. There's a lot of new faces for CUC this season, and the Coaches Weekly I had with Coach Andy Lambert this week, he said, well, at what point do you consider them not new, that they've been around for so long, that they've been playing for us for as many games as some of these guys have had. They've started for us. And at some point, then you start treating them like they're returners, and they start performing as if like that. They mature into themselves as well, and we've seen that from a couple players already today. 2nd and 7 for the Cougars. They hand it off to Christian Covington. Gets tackled from behind. Brian Pritt on the tackle. Third down and 6 for the Cougars. Cougars finally get to the line of scrimmage. Bradley sends Henson in motion. They hand it off to Henson. Trying to get some extra yardage, but is short of the line to gain. Got about 4 yards on the carry. Good stand for the Benedictine Eagle defense. And it forces a 3-and-out from CUC, and that's exactly what the Eagles needed.
Well, we talked about how momentum-based this Cougars team is. When one of their, 3 units does something well, the next one really feeds off of that. So now you got this offense, they're kind of stagnant right now after getting the touchdown last drive. It's exactly what Benedictine wants. Keep them off the board, keep that momentum down.
And the Eagles blocked the punt. So now both teams with a blocked punt. Cam Kuttner in the backfield for the Eagles. And now the Cougars have to play some big-time red zone defense.
You want to talk about building momentum. I think a blocked punt goes under that qualification. It's exactly what Benedictine wants. They keep the Cougars' offense off the board, and now you get this blocked punt. They're set up in prime scoring position already in the red zone. They can punch this one in, potentially tie the game. Everything's going to be going the Eagles' way.
Hand off to Horde. Julian Ramirez at the line of scrimmage. Drives him back. And Julian Ramirez, we haven't said his name too much today, but he still takes up a lot of space in the middle. Really forces you as the opponent and a running back to make a decision early about where you're going.
Say 6'4", 240, and about as athletic as they come. It's hard to avoid number 99 sitting in the middle for the Cougars. And like you said, Carter, that forces players to make decisions early. They have to commit to something because there's really no improvising when you're already close to them.
Pass over the middle. Trying to get it to Seigel. Backside coverage from Pitts. 3rd and 9 for Benedictine.
Well, it'll be a statement stand if the Cougars can hold up here. Benedictine starts their drive already in the red zone after the big blocked punt. Now if the Cougars can force a 3 and out, it's a big task coming into the drive, but now you got 3rd and long. At least hold Benedictine to a field goal, and hey, with the wind conditions, that's not a certain thing either.
Seigel in motion to the right. Wadajewski has to step up, uses his legs, has room to run. He has the pylon and is in the end zone. Touchdown, Eagles. It looked like a dead play from the start, but Evan Wadajewski uses his legs, scampers into the end zone from 17 yards out, and the Eagles are an extra point away from tying the game.
Wadajewski not really known for using his legs all season. That's why we've seen Seigel come in a lot to take those direct QB snaps to rush up the gut, but in his 6 games coming in today, Wadajewski 5 attempts for 29 rushing yards. He almost equaled it with that play right there.
And the extra point is fumbled. CUC can pick it up and take it back for 2. They keep themselves up, and CUC is rolling, but it's tackled down. BJ Pitts was in the backfield, was trying to take it back for 2 points, but that is a huge, huge special teams error, as now the Cougars retain the lead by 1 point.
So Cougars catch a bit of a break there with that bad snap, and man, would have been icing on the cake if BJ Pitts was able to take that all the way as well. But still, you know, it's a 1 point lead, which is nothing in the sport of football, but just kind of that moral victory of knowing you're still on top. You still have the lead over Benedictine. That's going to keep spirits a little higher on the Cougar sideline, rather if they were tied up. But now the offense, they have to make some noise. The way Benedictine's offense has been, heating up as the game goes on, I think it's doubtful they don't pick up, the 1 point needed. So CUC offense, they have to add something here. They have to build on this lead.
We'll also look at it, too. We're nearing the end of the third quarter. CUC is a very good team at eating up some play time, but at the same time, that's if they're able to effectively use that rush. And again, they're out-rushing the Eagles 134 to 94. But at some point, the Cougars are going to need to start making those big plays, as we've seen so far in the third quarter. Another touchback for the Eagles will mean the Cougars will set up their shop for a late third quarter drive at the 25-yard line.
It's an interesting scenario for CUC, like you're explaining, Carter. You want to put more points up on the board. You want to get that lead up. But you also want to eat up time. You don't want to give Benedictine's offense too much time to make something happen. So you got to find that nice balance between you're still moving downfield, you're still gaining yardage with some nice plays, but you're also not doing it too quick. That Benedictine's offense is going to have all the time in the world needed to get their shot at, tying this up, taking the lead, whatever it may be, whenever they get the ball back.
2 receivers each side for the Cougars. Sykes in the backfield. Henson in motion. Prattley keeps it himself, gets outside, and gets pushed out, and a late shove, and flags fly from every direction. A very, very late push. So Troy Prattley was already going out of bounds. Play wouldn't have been anything, maybe a yard to gain, if that. But then a very, very late shove.
Say that's the call you need to make. There's no reason for that shove other than just, kind of rub it in your opponent's face. But you can't be doing that if you're Benedictine. Now you're giving your team, now you're hurting your team.
2:05 remaining in the third quarter. Henson in motion again. They'll go to the option. Low snap, ball on the turf, and it is out of bounds. A very, very fortunate roll for CUC, as that could have been costly. A couple Benedictine players in the area. But a late pitch from Prattley. Wait for the official spot of the ball. It'll be 2nd and 10 for CUC. They ruled it a forward pass. Again, they'll go to the right side. Prattley keeps it himself. Sykes with a late block. Picks up 2-3 yards on the play.
Well, now you got 3rd down. I think you got to go through the air on this one. I know the wind's picked up recently. It's blowing the yard markers all over the spot. There's one of the goal line markers on the field, but
yard markers are everywhere. The south end zone field goal post looks like it's going to fall off of its hinges.
Well, it's got a quarter and 1.5 minutes to go, so hopefully it holds up, and then it'll be free to do as it wishes.
3rd and 7 for the Cougars on the 41-yard line. Wind blowing in their face. They go for a run. Prattley takes it to the other side and is brought down. Big play for the Eagles, and it comes from another big-time player, Brian Pritt.
We see the Cougars having a conversation. It's 4th and long, as now the punt team will come out, but they're going to really rely on their defense now. Hopefully this punt can bury Benedictine deep into their own zone.
Do you even punt it in this condition right now? That's my
gonna be
question.
tough.
We got 40-mile-an-hour winds coming in your face. Would you even elect to punt it here?
Well, obviously, now we get a timeout, it looks like, so maybe Coach Lambert heard you down on the sideline, Carter, because I think he may be rethinking this one.
I would be shocked if – and now, again, in every other aspect of weather, you go for a punt here.
Right.
But you have to think creatively here and wonder what will you do with 30, 40-mile-an-hour wind in your face in a one-point ball game.
Yeah.
And you're already decent. You would give your opponent some pretty good field position anyways.
Yeah, I mean, it's a tough call to make. You're kind of in that no man's land right now of the field where, you could go for it. You could punt, as I think they are still going for it right now. We're still setting up in punt formation. Oh, the wind died down a little since that timeout was called, so maybe Coach Lambert bought his punter sometime, but interested to see how this one turns out.
Eagles look to block the punt. Auer keeps it short, and it takes a backward bounce out around the 40-yard line. It'll officially be marked at the 38 on Benedictine's side of the field. 23.8 seconds remaining. Eagles were able to score on their last drive, but a botched extra point, a low snap, kept the Cougars in front by 1. And as you can see, the flag is blowing like crazy. We've started losing pieces of the track. And the mat's out by the entrance to the football field. Seigel in motion, trips up and falls down in the backfield. There'll be a loss of about 4 on the play. Now under 10 seconds to play. Loss of 4 on the play officially after the trip up in the backfield by Dylan Seigel. And that'll be the end of the third quarter. Fourth quarter football to come here in River Forest on a windy Saturday afternoon. CUC up 27-26 over the visiting Benedictine University Eagles. Second down and 14 for the Eagles. They go for the trick play. Double reverse, Nick Shelton, other side, and sniffing that out, number 45, Jelani Warner, another big loss. And now a flag flies late. Trayvon Thomas was slow to get up off the ground.
Yeah, there's still an Eagle on the ground, too. I think it is Shelton. Looks like it.
So a blindside block called on number 77, Bula Nying. So a huge stop for CUC. Now penalty yardage from that as well.
Yeah. I think third in a parking lot right now.
Third and a long way to go for the Eagles. Ball is spotted officially at the 28-yard line. Excuse me, 34. But now the penalty is declined. So it'll be third down and long for the Eagles. Wadajewski gets brought down in the pocket. The sack from Marquise Overstreet. Big time defensive play from the junior. It's exactly what the Cougars needed. They needed their defense to step up, and they got just that.
Overstreet coming into the game with only one sack on the year, and well, he's matched that now with that one. And that, again, like we saw with Aduo earlier, of course, Aduo's was on fourth down, but big time third down, late down sack there from the Cougars defense. Doing exactly what they needed to set their offense up for success.
Cougars have already blocked one punt today. Brandon Monford with the block, and then Martin Egbo returned it for the touchdown. CUC got blocked again, and it's picked up by Brendan Baugh. Baugh to the sideline. Baugh to the end zone. Touchdown, Cougars! What a sequence from the special teams unit.
There's a flag.
But a flag on the play. We'll see what it is. Wow, the special teams unit for CUC.
Well, we got to see what the call is, but if that stands, that's absolutely huge.
Christian Covington is the CUC player that's talking to all the officials. The punt from Sean Lyons seemed to have been partially blocked, hit off the backside of an Eagles player, as we'll head down to the field for the official call. Still waiting the official word from head referee Jack Shanahan. So it is, in fact, a touchdown for the Cougars. So 2 special teams touchdowns for CUC. Extra point attempt following. But Brendan Ball out of nowhere saw a ball popped right into his lap, and there you go. Grab a special teams touchdown. Cougars up 33-26 with an extra point to come.
So look what I found, and took it for the 6, but that's kind of what they need right now. Their offense has been a little bit inconsistent this second half, so with the special teams unit able to step up, add on some points for them, that's what you need to do when, you know, your offense struggles, is those other 2 units, the special teams, the defense, they got to you know, step up, find some ways to put points on the board, and that's exactly what this special teams unit has done twice today now.
Extra point attempt is good. Take a look back at the special teams touchdown. Again, a partially blocked punt. Brendan Ball, far sideline, takes it back for a touchdown. CUC now finds themselves up in a two-possession game, I should say. And that, again, it shows how important that missed field goal or point after attempt for Benedictine was, and what the Cougars were able to do right after.
Well, now this is a big drive defensively for the Cougars. We've seen the last couple times they've gone up by 2 scores on Benedictine. Benedictine responds right away, pulls back within 1. So if the Cougars defense can come out, get a stop, get the ball back to their offense while they're still up by 2 touchdowns or more, that's going to do wonders for this team here in the last quarter. But everything's set up for the Cougars to pull this one off.
Cougars up 34-26, 13:40 remaining in the fourth quarter. Eagles bring it out, but not by much. Return from Benedictine goes to around the 35-yard line. Now CUC, you talk about the momentum. This is a team that thrives on it. Special teams has been exactly that for the Cougars. Been a little bit of extra jolt of energy that is needed. And now the defense, if they can get a stop here, this would be big time in terms of momentum towards the end of the game. Wojciechowski with a handoff, Seigel, and a tackle made by number 26, B.J. Pitts.
So if you're Benedictine, you need a score. You need to get something. You get a field goal. Of course, a touchdown would be ideal, but you got to put some points up on the board. Because Cougars are up by 2. They're up by 8 now.
Handoff to Horde. Makes a man miss. Coming down and filling the alley is Baugh. Staying up is Horde before he's finally cracked out of bounds at the 45-yard line. Julian Ramirez came over to finish off the play. But keeping your feet going, Greg Horde, 5'8", 180 senior, able to pick up some extra yards after contact and a first down.
Well, now we're getting into the late game of today's matchup. This is where the studs for Benedictine need to step up. Guys like Horde, guys like we talk about Shelton and Holiday. This is where they really need to make their mark and start making some plays for their team.
Horde on the ground again. Picks up another first down. Back-to-back 10-yard-plus rushes for Horde. Hasn't taken much for the Eagles to get down into CUC territory. Two receivers to the right for the Eagles. Wadajewski not in the backfield. It's Seigel who picks up the first down again. Knocked out around the 21-yard line. Clock continues to run. So 3 consecutive runs and 3 first downs.
It's a great tempo here from Benedictine. They're just absolutely booking it downfield. They want a quick response to that special teams touchdown. Get some momentum swung back their way, and you go for that 2-point conversion. You could even tie things up.
Seigel gets cracked by the shoulder of Brandon Montford. Freshman today has made a couple big plays, but is one of those young talents that we talked to Coach Lambert about. He is very excited to see where he goes in the future. Good frame, too, 5'11", 195. As you go along in football, you get some more weight room in the offseason and everything like that. That's where you start to see the real gains and potential for what you can be.
Say Montford might not get as talked about as much as guys like Trevon Thomas or Brandon Arredondo, but Montford's been right there in that line of impressive first years for the Cougars.
Thomas with the tackle. Gain of 6 on the play by Horde. And they've just kept feeding the senior running back on this drive, and it's paid off. It'll be 1st and 10 at the 11-yard line. Ball on the right hash. 10:37 remaining in the fourth quarter. Seigel tried to cut it back upfield. Gain of 2. Tackled from behind by Overstreet. CUC, a team that, in terms of red zone scoring in their opponents, have scored almost 60% of the time that their opponent is in the red zone. We've already seen a 4th down stop for CUC today. Wadajewski rolled right, goes to the middle, and pass is broken up. Number 17, Charles Kirtley. And a flag on the play in the end zone as well.
So there were a couple bodies on the intended receiver. See if one of them got a piece of him.
So they get Eric Wade on a hold. Will be a new set of downs for the Eagles. You mentioned there's a lot of bodies in the area. Eric Wade, the sophomore cornerback.
That's one of those, it's not, interference. It's kind of, he probably, he did something that refs just didn't like, called it as interference, but you just can't, these penalties hurt. You had a big third down opportunity.
Handoff to Horde. He springs it outside. Ball comes out. Do the Cougars have it? They do! The Cougars get the football back. Jelani Warner forcing the fumble. CUC stands strong inside their own 10.
Maybe the interference was all part of the master plan.
Jelani Warner said, ball don't lie. And now the Cougars make another big-time defensive play. The wind just sucked out of the sail of the Eagles' ship. Henson in motion. First play for the Cougars on this drive. Henson knocked back close to the goal line. And now the big thing here, again, for CUC, even though you're up by 8, you have to be cautious of where you are on the field. They started at the 5. Ball now moved back to the 3-yard line.
So they're not out of, not out of danger yet. They might have the ball, but they're dangerously close to their own end zone. And as much backfield, action the Cougars love to do, that could be troublesome here if, Eagles able to break through the line and get someone in the backfield. Well, you just gave them 2 points there.
Sykes trying to get out of the end zone. He does. Picked up a couple yards and now is drilled back a little bit more. But again, 2 negative rushing plays for CUC following the fumble caused by Jelani Warner.
Well, now, obviously, we still want to get the first down, but I think another goal has got to be, 1, avoid the safety, and then 2, if, the 4th down does come up, you got to give your punter a little room to work with. Right now, he's got basically no space to get a punt off if it comes to that.
Burn some time off the play clock. 8:18 left. Bradley has to get out of the end zone, spins around, does just that, gets close to the line of scrimmage. He was trying to take a shot down the sideline, looking for Devin Bledsoe. But it'll be a 3-and-out for CUC. And waiting for this punt, the one thing that comes out of it is you took a little bit of time off the clock. But now the pressure is on for CUC special teams. Ryan Auer not going all the way back to the furthest part of the end zone, about 3 yards away from the back. Has to get it away. He does. Nice spiral. Takes its first bounce at the 35. Eagles get a return from number 13, Sammy Iosh. Gets brought down around the 31-yard line. So good job from the special teams unit, keeping the protection for Auer, but then also to the offense, able to take some time off, and Bradley was able to, again, use his feet, not for the purpose of getting big plays, but just staying out of the end zone and avoiding a safety.
I mean, you obviously would have liked to move upfield, but those, those situations where you're starting your offense so close to the end zone, they're always tough because you're trying to get plays off, but you basically have no room for error. So, credit the Cougars offense. They're able to avoid the safety, gave their punter a little bit of wiggle room, and then, of course, like you said, wiped some time off the clock.
Handoff given to Seigel. It was an option. Julian Ramirez in on the tackle. Trayvon Thomas as well. No gain on the play. 2nd and 10. Eagles with 293 total yards of offense. The Cougars with 183. Yet CUC finds himself up 8 here in the 4th quarter. Play action. Wadajewski finds a man near his own sideline. It is Seigel. Brought in for about a gain of 8. Second reception for Seigel on the night. 79 yards on the ground. Going for over 100 yards of all-purpose yardage. Be 3rd and short for Benedictine. 8 for 16 on 3rd downs today. Handed off to Horde. Bounces it back inside. The spot looks to be a little short. Jelani Warner in the area on the tackle. Official spot is at the 23-yard line. 4th and inches for the Eagles. Wadajewski has a lead man to his right. Looks to the sideline. Ten seconds on the play clock. Wadajewski hands it off to Horde. Met by a wall. Did the Cougars stuff him? A late push by the Eagles might have done the trick. Official spot to come from the official.
I don't think he got it.
Cougars say they don't have it. And it's a first down for CUC, another turnover on downs. Cougars defense comes up big on back-to-back drives.
This defense, they know when to make an appearance. They're always good, but they know when to turn it on and make that big play, make that big stop, force a turnover. We saw it, you know, in the red zone last drive. A pass interference in the end zone gives Benedictine a fresh set of downs, and Jelani Warner, as you put it, Carter, said, ball don't lie, force the turnover. And now they had a 4th and short. Defense stood tall, got another turnover on downs, and now they got less than a half a quarter to go here from taking down the Eagles for the first time in quite a while. Last time Cougars took down Benedictine was back in 2012 as a 26-13 win at Benedictine University.
Last time the Cougars won at home against these Eagles was September 22nd of 2007. The first play on the drive for CUC following the turnover on downs, it was a muffed snap and exchange in the backfield with Pradley and Sykes. Under 5 minutes to play here in River Forest. Henson in motion. Pradley keeps it, has a blocker, cuts it back to the right side. Down around the 25-yard line. Eagles with 3 timeouts in the half still. CUC had to burn 1. Still waiting for the Cougars to get their play in. And then the play clock's out here at Concordia Stadium, so the back judge has the official spot on the play clock under 10 seconds. They hand it off to Adarian Sykes. He gets pushed back a couple yards at the line of scrimmage. Tackle for the Eagles was made by number 59, Sergio Ayala. And another 3 and out for the Cougars offense. They'll have to call on their defense once more.
Well, it goes to show how big not only that missed field goal is, missed point after touchdown, is, but, you know, that special teams touchdown. The second one of the day, this defense has a little bit of breathing room, 8 points. So they can, it's not like they're trying to hold up a 1-point lead. Trying to hold up an 8-point lead sounds a lot better.
Auer had to get it away after the snap hit the turf. Pulls it to the left side in front of the CUC sideline, marked at the 44-yard line. So again, CUC, their defense asked now to make another big stop with 3:01 remaining in the fourth quarter. Cougars up 34-26. First play of the drive for the Eagles. They hand it off to Horde on the left side. Able to dive out to the 39-yard line. Gain of 5 on the play.
Well, I'm interested to see if Benedictine's going to take their time on this drive and just kind of bank on getting a 2-point conversion, or maybe what they should do is hurry up on this drive, see what you can get out of that touchdown, and then, if the 2-point conversion doesn't go your way, you still have enough time to go for an onside kick and try again.
Wadajewski rolls to the right, now looks left. Martin Egbo almost got a hand on the pass intended to the left side for Justin Hocker. 3rd and 5 for the Eagles. Cougar sideline and fans are starting to get loud. 2:19 remaining in the fourth quarter. CUC looks to be in man defense. Wydajewski steps up, gets it out behind the blind, and now they are calling it a forward pass. It looked very close to being a backward pass, but the lines judge said it was a forward pass to Greg Horde. 4th and 5.
This is
Eagles 2 for 4 so far in the game on 4th down conversions.
probably be Eagles. Yeah, be down to their last 2 drives coming up. They still got 3 touchdowns, which helps a lot, but they got to treat this like it's do or die right now.
CUC brings the blitz. Wydajewski over the middle, ball breaks it up. No flags on the play. The Cougars again. Another 4th down turnover.
Brendan Ball, one of my favorite players on this Cougars defense. He's always where he needs to be. He's always making plays. He's making tackles, and he's doing stuff like that, getting past breakups, playing just good positional secondary defense. Ball is an absolute stud on this Cougars team. He's only a sophomore. It's going to be fun to watch him get better and better over the next 2 years. But you want to talk about the right now, an absolute huge breakup. Cougars offense, all they're going to need is a couple first downs and might be able to seal this one up. But like I said, Benedictine still has their 3 timeouts.
So now in the last 3 drives for the Eagles, they've turned the ball over on 4th down 2 times. It's also the 6th pass breakup of the game for the CUC defense as Adarian Sykes gets back to the line of scrimmage. And now if you're Benedictine, you have to start using your timeouts, and they do. Eagles call their first with 2:07 remaining in the 4th quarter. We'll step aside for a quick break. CUC will have 2nd and 10 with 2:07 remaining when we come back on the Cougar Sports Network. Second and 10 for the Cougars. Christian Covington in motion. Bradley keeps it and gets dragged down in the backfield by Bryant Pritt. Pritt with his 6th tackle of the game. Also picks up his 4th tackle for a loss. Another timeout called by Benedictine. Cougar fans, be sure to check out our YouTube page, CUC Sports, for new digital content, interviews, and all broadcasts on the Cougar Sports Network. Now you can become a channel member for $5 a month to receive exclusive access to content and the ability to participate in live chats during the broadcast. Go to YouTube channel, CUC Sports, click the join button to become a member. If you don't want to become a member at this time, you can donate to the CUC Athletic Communications Department to continue to improve the broadcast you're watching by clicking the thank button on any video. We sincerely thank you for all your support. Fans can also head over to CUCougars.com for everything CUC athletics and football. Click Sports and Football in the drop-down menu to find rosters, schedule, stats, and more.
Big 3rd down here for the Cougars. Kind of a tricky situation. On one hand, you want to get that clock running, force Benedictine to use their final timeout of the game. But on the other hand, the 1st down sounds really nice and would pretty much seal the deal. Oh, see what the play calling is here.
3rd and 12 for CUC. They hand it off to Hansen. Big Bo back behind the line of scrimmage. He's all the way around the 30. And CUC has just been getting knocked back play after play on the last 3 drives they've had offensively. Benedictine uses their final timeout with 1:51 remaining and will get the ball back after a big-time third down stop.
Should get a little boost from the wind now as well, so that always helps, but looks like this defense, they're going to have to make their stand one more time. Hopefully just one more time, that is.
Benedictine trying to go and block a punt again. They already did it so far in this game. They don't get it. Some contact, but no flag called. Ayash comes out and gets tackled around the 48-yard line. We'll bring you back to how we got to this point. The Eagles had the ball and the 11:26 mark in the fourth quarter. We're able to get it all the way down to the CUC 5-yard line before a fumble caused by Jelani Warner stalled the drive. Then the next drive, CUC forced a 3-and-out, and then another 3-and-out. Or turnover on downs, I should say. And now the Eagles lose it in the backfield. Ball's on the ground. It could be in the hands of a Cougar, but Wydajewski is able to hop back on it. But again, going back to my point, a fumble and 2 turnover on downs is how we got to the point today. Under a minute to play here, or a minute 27 to play. Martin Egbo tried to get in the backfield, pass over the top, and a receiver knocked down. Pass broken up by number 27, Eric Wade, and Wade is down in the secondary for the Cougars. Now we have an injured Cougar on the field. It is Eric Wade. Minute 22 remaining in the fourth quarter. CUC has not beat the Benedictine Eagles since October 27th of 2012. Their last home win against the Eagles came on September 22nd of 2007. It would be the highlight of the season for the Cougars, besides their homecoming victory against Rockford. Before they get ready to hit the road and take on the Green Knights of St. Norbert College next week on the road at 1 p.m. Minute 22. 3rd down and 15. Pass dumped and called incomplete. In and out of the hands of the receiver. And it'll be 4th and long for the Eagles.
Well, here it is. This is it. See what Benedictine can cook up here.
And a sack by the Cougars. Julian Ramirez comes up big again. The Cougars, not for the first, not for the second, not for the third, but 4th time. Stall the Eagles on 4th down late in the 4th quarter.
You said 4 times, right? 4?
4th.
4.
Yes.
Okay. Just making sure I was counting right.
Fire me up, Julian Ramirez. Big time stop by the lineman.
A couple knees and should take us down to 0. But man, what a game from the Cougars. Game planning absolutely sensational from the coaching staff, especially this defense. I don't know if you can give player to the game to every player on the Cougars defense, but if you could, I definitely would. Defensive coordinator Lamont Butler knew exactly what he was doing coming in today. Benedictine had nothing going. And then credit the special teams play, credit the offense. They got some crucial scores here and there.
CUC on their way to picking up their first win against the Eagles since 2012.
Happy Senior Day.
Happy Senior Day, Cougar football fans. And with that final kneel down, the Cougars have taken a big-time upset win over the Eagles. Final score from River Forest, CUC 34, Benedictine 26. Cougars improved to 3-6 on the season, 2-5 in conference, and will take on the St. Norbert College Green Knights. The Benedictine Eagles fall now to 6-3. I want to thank everybody who tuned into today's broadcast and everybody who is a part of the Cougar Sports Network production team. Julia Beers, Emily Balaban, Janie Turnez, Sydney Lloyd, as well as Ryan McGee, Peter Borkowski, Kate Benez, Chandler Kerr, Wyatt McLaughlin, under the direction of Kayla McLeod and assisted by Sydney Pulaskis-Laher. I'm Carter Gledhill signing off for the final time of the football season of 2022 here in River Forest. We'll see you next season, but stay tuned for next week and more football from St. Norbert College. And as always, Peter, let's say it together. Go Cougars!